Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jumper, and today I'll be reviewing The Shadows of Rose, which was released back in on the 20th of October of 2022. And so this is the DLC for Resident Evil Village, and I would say this is like the sort of finale of that game, in the terms of, because the main story is that we get to see a grown-up Rose trying to fit into normal life, and then one of the people she gets in contact with tells her that he has found a way to get rid of her powers, that being the whole Mechamycete mold powers that Miranda had, and wanted to try and resurrect her daughter in Resident Evil Village. And Rose goes into this sort of dreamlike state where she goes and finds several things throughout the sort of dream thing, where to collect these crystal things. We're all trying to find the purifying crystal in order to get rid of her powers. And throughout the game, you go through some of the areas from Resident Evil Village, like Lady Dimitrescu's castle, some of the wilderness in the village, and the dollhouse. And I would say this is really cool and a really nice way to round out the sort of Winter's storyline that started in 7, then in 8, and now in Shadows of Rose. And I would say this is a nice, enjoyable story, and probably one of my favourite moments from Shadows of Rose is the dollhouse. And that's mainly because I would say the dollhouse is obviously a bit scarier than you would see in the original, because in the original, you towards the end of the dollhouse area, you would get chased by that giant baby thing, and as well as having to fight the doll lord of that particular house. But with in Shadows of Rose, like in the original game in Resident Evil Village, your weapons and stuff gets taken away, which I think is a nice shock horror part of it, just so you can feel more claustrophobic and more scared of going around each corner, just in case you might bump into something. And instead of having the baby, you'll be going and chased down by a bunch of mannequins of your mum, and this kind of reminds me of the Weeping Angels in a sort of sense, because with the dolls, anytime you're not looking at them, they'll just continue walking towards you, and that's kind of similar to the Weeping Angels, because they're creatures from Doctor Who, and in the way they work is that any time one person or more people are not looking at the angels can move and zap that person back in time. And yeah, that's what the dollhouse to me reminds me of, just because of how just because because like throughout that part of the game, or the DLC, you don't really see you see them, but they just stand still. And then I didn't really know that they could move until I encountered the one in the book library part of the area. And yeah, that's pretty much like the part where, like, that's like the fear factor got to me. It's just because of just because I thought they couldn't move. And when it comes to comparing the Shadows of Rose to Village, I would say that the original story of Village is a lot scarier than Shadows of Rose, mainly because when you play both of them, they've got two different perspectives. With Village, you're seeing everything from Ethan's point of view, from a first-person perspective, whereas with Shadows of Rose, you're seeing it from a third-person perspective. So you can see Rose's character model and then everything around you. And they have added that to Village as well, where you can see, Ethan's character model and then everything else around you. But I would say that the whole first person perspective is a whole lot scarier in my opinion, mainly because you're seeing through the person's eyes and you're experiencing what they're experiencing. So I think that's a whole lot scarier. Like when you get attacked by Lady Dimitrescu or Heisenberg or Mother Miranda or whoever you are going against in Village. And even though I did get some scares in, there were some scares that got me scared in Shadows of Rose. I would say personally, when it comes to both the DLC and the original story, I would say I got more scared in Village than I did in Shadows of Rose. But I still did enjoy it. I did like the interactions between Rose and this mysterious entity that you'll find out later to be Ethan Winters, which I think is quite cool because he's basically helping his own daughter try and help with it to some degree because he gives her ammo, healing items, as well as this herb thing that can make her use her powers because she's got powers now. She's got superhero powers now, and I think that's quite cool because what she does is she can use it on the sort of plant mold things, which is quite cool, and they can basically be disintegrated if you use them, as well as freezing enemies. And towards the end of the DLC of the story, you basically face off Miranda again, and it's basically the same plot as, or the same sort of plan as Village did it, in the sense of Miranda wants a daughter, and she's going to use it. She's going to use Rose to do it, and she was the one who constructed the whole conversation with the dude that wants to help Rose get rid of her powers, and it's kind of complicated, and yeah, and then Ethan Winters helps her, which I think is cool because father-daughter bonding and saving the day and teaming up, which I think is quite cool, and yeah, and for the final fight, I would say this is a whole lot more easier than the final fight in Village because you've got superpowers and you can just basically just deflect Miranda's powers or spell things back at her, which I think makes for an easier boss fight. And yeah, overall it's fine, I would say, because in terms of the DLC as a whole, I think it's quite nice just to have, to see things from a different perspective. And also the ending is basically the same ending from Village, so I think it's a nice kind of way of showing us the two different perspectives when you see that scene. If you've beaten Village, you kind of like, this is a nice sort of roundup for Ethan's character story, and then with when you play Shadows of Rose, you kind of sees it from Rose's perspective, and I think that's quite interesting and quite clever, in my opinion. So yeah, overall, I would say Shadows of Rose is a nice round up to the game as a whole in terms of the Village story, and it's a nice end to the Winters story arc, which started in 7, and then in 8, and now in Shadows of Rose. And yeah, I think it's a nice, enjoyable game, nice, enjoyable DLC. And if you've played through Village and enjoyed it, I would highly suggest playing the Shadows of Rose, just so you can finish off the story and just see how it goes and stuff. And yeah, I think I really enjoyed it. So that's been my review for the Shadows of Rose. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.